can't be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me. And I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
FT Live, Braun and Kratz in the same place. I'm everywhere. I gotta fix this.
What happened? Not the diamonds.
Oh man,
Attaboy Scott.
this thing's worth 100 G's too.
Attaboy Scott.
What did I do?
Well, you can't say that. I can't say that in front of a media member. Because then somebody will narc on me.
Am I a media member?
Yeah. Everybody is a media member.
Hmm.
All the time.
What is Kratz talking about? Well, you know what? Let's charge the damn mound to get right into it. Hello, everyone. Corbin Burnes also is going to join us soon, and we'll attaboy Mr. Burnes too. But let's charge with Russ. Russ Dorsey from Stadium swinging by to represent the media side of this heavyweight battle. Erik Kratz will represent the player side of this clubhouse confrontation that will be going on frequently now. What are you allowed to say and not say? What are you allowed to say is said and not said? Russ, what's going on, dude?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good, good. So we'll get to the Phillies
Can
and
you
the
punch
Braves.
his face, Kratzy? Could
No.
you?
I could not punch that face. Like,
Some people have such a punchable face. That's not a punchable
that is
face.
not one of them.
Nope.
Like, no chance. Like,
Mm-mm.
that smile. You would smile one time in the ring, and I'd be like, that's cool.
Nah.
Hug.
That's cool.
I got to thank my parents for that one.
Exactly. You had nothing to do with this, but thanks, Mom and Dad. Okay. So before we get into the game portion of Phillies and Braves, which also, by the way, we did an instant post-game show last night on FT YouTube. Let's get the next layer, which we didn't cover on that particular show. And that is Orlando Arcia versus Bryce Harper versus Travis d'Arnaud versus the media. No?
I mean, there's a whole layer there. There's definitely a whole layer there. But what Travis d'Arnaud said, I love d'Arnaud. So, I mean, it's as a player, I represent the player's side of this. He's got to know. He's got to know better. I mean, he was excited when he said it last night. I'm sure other things, or the night before, I'm sure other things were said. But d'Arnaud to say, like, I thought this would stay. I don't even remember his quote now. But is there anything like?
Oh, we'll run it. You want to run some of those?
Let's run d'Arnaud's. If we have d'Arnaud's, let's run it so that we can instant react.
You want to do Arcia first?
Yeah, let's do Arcia first.
So let's run Arcia, Orlando Arcia after the game. And for context, in case you've been hiding under a rock, Arcia was excited in the clubhouse after the big comeback dub for the Braves, called out Harper a little bit. Media were there. They were allowed to be there. So Harper heard about it, homered twice. Pretty sure that he's really good at baseball and can homer anyway. But he homered twice and looked back at Arcia, and we love the drama. We love the petty, fun drama. And this is what Arcia said after his team got smacked in Game 3.
No, just because, I mean, when you win the clubhouse, I was just under the impression that you could say whatever you wanted. So, I guess it's just something that was reported, and just that.
When you said what you said, did you intend for it to get back to Harper when you said that?
Cuando dijiste lo que dijiste, que si tuviste la intención que Harper lo escuche.
No está supuesto escucharlo, por eso lo estamos celebrando en el clubhouse.
He wasn't supposed to hear. That's why we were celebrating. That was why we were talking in the clubhouse.
Okay, so that's Arcia. I have two more, and then Russ is ready to punch back. We'll see if you have a punchable face.
I have a punchable face. Just not my nose. This nose is huge. Don't punch it.
It'll hurt. It'll hurt. You'll break your hand.
Oh.
Step 2, Bryce Harper after Game 3 SmackDown.
I mean, anytime anybody says something, right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
Did you enjoy staring him down?
Yeah, I mean, I stared right at him.
Love it. Bryce, great for the game. No matter what you think about the topic, I love the straight up real answers. The most players in any situation, not most, many, get asked about any kind of controversy. They pause for a sec and think back to the Rolodex of the 5 cookie cutter answers that they have to put out there for the world. We're just trying to play the game, just trying to win. We're not worried about blah, blah. No, Bryce just said it like it was. And lastly, Travis d'Arnaud chimed in to back up Orlando Arcia, because then the topic gets into, are the media in the clubhouse allowed to say what's said in the clubhouse? Travis, go.
The clubhouse is a sanctuary, and I think when things like that get out, it doesn't make people want to talk to the media at all. It affects the people who have been great to us all year, and it is what it is.
Okay, so now, Russ, before you chime in, I'm not going to give my full take here. I'm just going to give the business side of baseball for a moment, that if you're a player and you say absolutely nothing, like let's say the players just don't talk, period, ever in life, like never say anything to media, never do whatever, you will lose significant interest in the sport. Like, let's remember why everyone is here, not just like getting paid, but also just like why we're playing games and all of this stuff, like because of fans. So access is important. And that was said by Arcia now, to my understanding, when media was allowed in, which is, there's a clear delineation. Media not in, private. Then they bring them in and they tell the players, clubhouse is now open, and whatever is said during that time period is allowed to be publicly expressed by the media. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been a reporter since I was 18 years old, right? I've been writing about baseball for a while now, not as long as some others, but for me, when you walk into the clubhouse, right, when you have open clubhouse time, it's not like the thing that was said by Orlando Arcia was said off the record. It wasn't like Orlando Arcia and Travis d'Arnaud was off into a little corner and somebody was ear hustling what they were saying. This was said out in the open amongst media members during that time that is allocated to reporters. I think, to me, it's super unfair to the people that do that job every day, that are very respectful and know that this is their sanctuary. This is where the players, that's their home. And we're allowed access in there. And I know that 99.99% of reporters are respectful of that. But you cannot turn what Orlando Arcia said in the open, in public, out loud amongst a lot of different people, that all of a sudden it was the media's fault that got out. Also, if you said it, stand on it, because I think they've made it a much bigger story than it actually is. It wasn't like he said anything disrespectful. He said attaboy Harper after game 2, after Bryce, got thrown out on the bases to end that game. They won. He said it. Bryce heard it, came back, balled out in game 3. And you just got to be like, hey, he got the best of us today. We got the best of them yesterday, and we have another game to play. Done. Like, to make it a thing now, like, ooh, the boogeyman found out that we were talking about him in the clubhouse. Like, it's, come on, man. I think it's unfair to the people that do this job every day and are very respectful and have really good relationships with players where things aren't taken out of context. And I think there's a lot of people around baseball, a lot of reporters around baseball, that are very respectful of players and their space. But during that time, something that's said out loud in the middle of the clubhouse with everybody in there is not something that's off the record. And I think it's on players to understand, what's on the record, what's not on the record, what is on background. Like, I think the more media savvy players become, you will avoid some things like this. But I just think it's a situation where you can't look at the media as being the villain here because Bryce Harper heard what you said and then balled out.
I don't think he balled out because you heard what he said, but what I'm impressed with is that you've only been writing for 6 years. You say you started when you were 18. Man,
well, I'm awesome. 28 now.
No, you're 24. You're 24.
My ID says 28 years old.
Okay, that's fair. But so if they're in there in that situation, like we talked about it, like one of my favorite parts of the whole play to end that game was the sheer emotion of that moment. Like, yeah, I mean, one person, Acuna was sea-walking, but there was no choreographed dancing. It was like sheer emotion of like, oh, dang it. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Like, and Riley picks the ball up. And even to the point where Jeff Francoeur, I think it was Francoeur said it, that like Matt Olson it was Brockstar, Brock Holt last night. He was saying, he's like, Matt Olson and Austin Riley are two of the most like even keel guys. And that emotion brought them to like raise their hands and they were yelling. So that pours into the clubhouse. But what people don't understand, the reporter wasn't standing there waiting to hear what Arcia said. Look at Olsen on that play. Like, he is so amped. He's so amped. Riley's running around. He backs the play up and gives a huge fist pump there from Olsen. A huge fist pump. Like, there's full emotions. Reporters are not in the tunnel as they're walking up to the clubhouse. There is a 10-minute, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the playoffs, it's actually 15 minutes in between the end of the game and when media members can come in. So there's an extra buffer there. And so it's not like they got him when he said this in the tunnel. He said this in the locker room.
I'd like to also add, Russ, so I've covered playoff baseball in person for over a decade, where I'm at, 20 games in the playoffs or something like that. I'm in clubhouses waiting to jump in. I have heard quite a few things, especially when it's the champagne celebration time on a clincher, where I'm like, we're standing outside the clubhouse waiting, right? You're like outside the door and it's so loud that you can hear it. Different, right? It's not open yet, okay? Where there's been some call outs and things. Then when the door's open and you walk in there, like, we're right there. You see us. Yeah. What are you talking about? Also, they're not evil. They're not the bad guys. I mean, there are some that are a pain in the ass that are just like trying to get shit out of people, but most aren't. Most are asking questions and just doing their job. And also they're the buffer, because you can't just let, 30,000 fans into the clubhouse to ask questions. This is a much better alternative in my mind. They can come on this show whenever they'd like, but it's understood. Like, we don't need to explain this to reporters, right? Like, everyone knows, like, once you walk in there, whatever's said, it doesn't have to be this either. Like, if Kratz is across the room and he's saying stuff, like, sometimes that becomes news, and that's okay. It doesn't have to just be this. Oh, it wasn't in my mic, so doesn't count. Like, we're getting way too much into semantics. So I think you just have to accept as a player that you take the L here. As someone like Travis. Eric O'Flaherty, who used to play for the Braves. Harper didn't go deep because some weasel reported that a guy joked about a blunder. He went deep because he got 2 hanging sliders. You got to be a real dumb shit to think he hit 2 home runs because he was mad or whatever. It's the playoffs. Dumb story. Emotions don't matter if you make pitches. Okay, well, first off, weasel's not nice because he didn't weasel on the situation. Right. Weasel on the situation could be, hey, we're in a private setting. We're off the record. We were outside of a place that we shouldn't have been in, and we heard something. That's weasel.
I heard it down the tunnel.
Yeah, that could be weasel. That was not weasel. But also, I will say it is a fun story to cover, and I do think that Bryce Harper used a little bit of it as bulletin board material. Would he have hit the 2 home runs anyway? Sure, maybe, but like, does it hurt? I mean, does it hurt? Do guys like to use things as motivation? Have we had Zach Gallen and many others on this show that have talked about times in the past that have driven them to this point that they don't forget? Freaking keeps receipts in his phone of who didn't vote for him. Of course it matters.
Definitely matters.
I think Bryce Harper is one of the best postseason performers I've seen since I've been covering baseball. And one of the best moments I've had as a reporter was when he homered in the NLCS last year to send the Phillies to the World Series against the Padres. The guy, he just rises to the occasion. He's the ultimate showman. And in a time where you have this storyline kind of brewing with him and Arcia, no, it's not because of that he homered. It's because he's Bryce Harper. It's because he's the ultimate showman. It's because he's the guy that they call MV3. And that guy, when the Phillies need him to, that's why you give that guy $330 million. Because when you need that big-time homer, when you need the guy to rise to the occasion, he does it. It just adds a little bit more fun, more spice, the fact that the thing with Arcia happened.
Do you feel like this is like a small market, large market thing? You know, when people are like, oh, this media market's so much tougher to play in than, say, in Atlanta. Atlanta's an easy market, in my opinion, from seeing reporters in the Northeast, Philly, Boston, New York, the places that I've played up here. Is this a small market, large market thing? Because you saw Alec Boehm say, I hate this effing place.
Yeah, but just one clear-cut difference. So that's regular season. So I think for this very moment, there's enough media covering any game that's going on.
So all of a sudden, Atlanta's now thrust into a large market. Is this,
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, RC's been in the league for a while. I mean, you know him.
I'm not talking about RC. I'm talking about more like
just how the coverage goes.
Just how the whole team covered this thing. Like even the translator was kind of like, well, this isn't what he meant to say. Like that was not direct translation. He put his own enunciation to that.
Why is it so soft too? I'm just like, I mean, you're the player side. Just be like, yo, we said it all good. Like Russ said, who cares? It's
if you own up to it, it's a non-story today. It's like, yeah, I said it. We were excited about the win. Reporters were in the clubhouse. I said it. I own that. We won the ball game. They won it today, and we have another game. It's not like this is the end of the series. There's another game to be played.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of this is some frustration from the Braves that, yo, they might get bounced, right? Momentum is not on their side, and you'd have the same team that bounced you in the NLDS last year bounce you again this year when you had the great regular season and you hit all the homers. You have the NL MVP in Acuna, who's 2 for 10 in the series. And so I think some of that plays into this as well, where you're already frustrated, right? You're frustrated that, you know, the one guy that you don't want to beat you, and now you could be going home. I think all that factors in.
Yeah, and maybe the one person that's excited about all this drama, Brian Snitker. Snitker was to me, if I'm a Braves fan, don't put my angst on Bryce Harper or Orlando Arcia, whichever side of this argument there's no way Bryce Elder should have been facing Bryce Harper.
Okay. Well, to be continued on that front, we'll get to some game analysis later. We'll have some highlights and we'll run through it. But Russ, your work is done. We needed the media perspective. We got it. We're on the same page. And yes, this team is on the ropes right now. We'll see what happens. Good talk, dude. We'll get you next week.
See you guys.
See you soon. Poll question today revolving around this topic. Should the Arcia comments have been reported? A, yes, they were said in a room full of reporters. No. B, no. What's said in there is private. C, please say more shit like that. Corbin Burnes is a player joining us next on FT Live. Jorge Polanco, did he foul tip that pitch?
Oh, please. Oh, my. Okay. Can we show the video of this? We showed it repeatedly on the air yesterday, but can we show this? I think we're allowed to show this, right, Claude?
Yep. We can show this. So, AJ, do you have the commissioner's cell or Joe Torre? Can you hit them up and tell them we're reviewing everything else? We can see that we can review this too.
Well, first of all, Martin Maldonado reacted right away. I mean, if you watch him, he's like, foul tip, right? Dusty reacts. They're all like, foul tip. And, I mean, it didn't end up hurting them because they got out of it anyways. But how is that not reviewable? I mean, that is clear as day what's happening. I mean, you can see it hit the bat. Everyone called for it. I just don't understand in the technology that we have now. We can't review foul balls and we can't review foul tips. Like what? I thought the goal was to get things right. Why are we not have these things reviewable? I don't know. You guys are closer with the commissioner than I am, so please explain.
You're talking to the wrong guy here. But it's funny you bring that up because all of a sudden a hit by pitch that skims off the hand and catcher catches it. Like we could review that though, but we can't review a foul ball tip. That boggles my mind. We should be able to review everything.
And now back to foul territory.
Back on FT Live, Braun Kratz, Corbin Burnes joining us in just a moment. We'll get some thoughts from him on Orlando Arcia's comments and like what ensued afterward, which also we get into it, but it's fun.
It's fun.
It's harmless.
Like we can't we can't make it out to be
good, clean fun, and it's harmless. It is.
Totally.
Like we don't have to get that worked up about it. I like to get worked up about, debating it and talking through it, but it's sports, it's fun. It adds to the storylines, which is good for the game. It also brings in fans that might not care to hear the analysis of the hanging breaking pitch that got smashed by Harper, right?
Yeah.
That's important because there's the section that knows the game, has played the game, understands the game. There's the section that just wants to kick back after work and have a good time for a few hours.
Entertained.
Yes.
It's entertainment. And I hope Darno's not for real about the fact that now nobody wants to talk to media. Like, I really like Darno. I'm really good friends with him, really good friends with O.
Yep.
Just owning up to it and just be like, yeah, you know what?
They didn't even say anything wrong. That's my thing too. Like you didn't say something that it's like, shouldn't have said that. Like
Heat
no.
of the moment, excitement, not even heat, just excitement of the moment. That is what we need. This is what we should do. Now,
Yeah,
Scott Braun, your turn to talk to Corbin Burnes.
All right, cool. Let's bring him in. Corbin Burnes on FT Live right now. Corbin, how we doing? And before we get to your stuff, what is this?
Oh my goodness.
What is this?
What is this sorcery that I see up there?
All by itself.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I forgot that was there.
Do you guys talk? Like, do you say hi when you walk into the room?
What's up?
You say hi to that huge piece of metal on the wall when you walk into the room?
It's a little lonely. I don't know. I have to find some more. There's got a bunch of slots up there for some more. So
yeah,
I like that.
True.
I like that. Yeah, you come by. He comes by after a good workout, and he's like, "I like you, Cy. I like what you're doing up there."
And for the crowd that will listen to this, like audio wise later, they're probably like, "What? It's a Cy Young award on the wall." So
it's his. It's his.
Yeah, he didn't take it from someone else, and it's real. Okay, so anyway, Corbin, let's start with this, and let us know if you need any more information on it because we can provide. But do you see the back and forth with Bryce Harper and Orlando Arcia, the good, clean fun? Then he looks at him with his 2 home runs, and then afterward, it seems like there's a little bit of sensitivity from the Braves side. They also lost the game, but Arcia, said attaboy about Bryce, which players, you correct me if I'm wrong, do all the time after they win a game like that. And the media was there already and it was open. So cool. Anything you think was done wrong there? What did you think of the whole situation?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you say it to the guys in the clubhouse and you say it to your boys like, hey, we just won that game because of a mistake there. But obviously Arcia was pretty pumped up because of the the win. But yeah, I think that's something you not always think is going to get to the media and get heard by everyone. But the fact that it did, you got to go up, you got to own up to it. You got to go out and play baseball, and you got to go ahead and win a baseball game the next day. You can't let that affect you, moving into the next day, just because it can carry over. And like you say, it gives the other team momentum, but still got to go out and play baseball.
Yeah, the way, I don't know how much you followed it, but the way they handled it was more like, well, we didn't want anybody to hear that, instead of, in my opinion, like, hey, we just made one of the greatest double plays to end a game. And you know what? He may have made a base running blunder. Had he dropped that ball, Harper scores, it may have been incredible base running too.
Right. Yeah. It's like you said, there's some things that are probably said that you don't want to get out, but if you're running around saying it when there's media in there, you have to know that it's going to get to the other side. They're going to make a story out of it. That's what media's in there, and that's what media is supposed to do. They're supposed to make stories out of it, especially in a postseason setting where things are amplified even more. Like that's the stuff they're looking for. That's the reason why they're in the clubhouse. So you have to know that when something's said, as small as it may have been, and taken out of context maybe a little bit, but you got to know when there's media around, it's going to get out there.
And my thing is, I just don't. I mean, it's not going to, because it'll get forgotten in a few days. I don't want it to take away from how the setup is currently. Like, players some like to talk to media a lot, some don't at all. Some like to do something like this versus be in the clubhouse, whatever. But the one thing that bothered me, and I would just say it to him, I will probably in the offseason at some point we'll bring him on. Travis d'Arnaud's like, well, maybe we shouldn't have, say anything to the media now, whatever, right? Like, all right, the clubhouse was open. It's not a big deal. To me, I just got, and Kratz started this, a little sense of, hey, the Braves are down 2-1. They had a freaking dominant season, and they're against the ropes, and they're probably just a little pissed off too as a ball club right now, which is also fine. But I don't think we get, trust me from a business sense, bad idea if we're playing all of these games and nobody's talking and no one's talking about them. Like, everyone knows that's not good for business. And it's not like a reporter kind of did something weird. Like, they're in the clubhouse during that time period. I don't think this is like anything that needs to be rectified.
No, I mean, there's obviously, when you see the media coming in, that, there a lot of times there's hot mics, there's that kind of thing. So there's a lot of reason why some older guys, when the media come to the clubhouse, they're never in there. They're in the weight room, they're in the training room, they're eating food. Like, there's ways to go and have conversations with your teammates about stuff without media being around. They're only allowed to go in certain areas. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. That was a big game. It was a big win. It was a big play to end the game. They were all excited, rightfully so. But yeah, I think it's tough to then say, okay, we're not going to talk to the media, because that's just part of our job as baseball players.
To the Brewers, you are the same as Bryce Harper is to the Phillies. You're that big time guy. You're that guy that the team leans on in a big situation. Do you need motivation? Do you need somebody else to tell you, hey, you know what? I think Corbin Burnes did screw up last year and make the Brewers not make the playoffs. What? Now I'm going to go out and pitch way better.
No, I mean, I think, guys draw enough motivation from, the game itself. I think a postseason setting like that, where you're playing an in-division, rival, I think you have plenty of motivation as it is. Obviously, you don't play each other near as many times as we used to, but there's enough motivation for them playing back in Philly against the Braves, who were one of the best teams all year. I don't think that they, Harper himself needs the extra motivation. Maybe he drew from it. Maybe it was more the crowd drew from it more than anything, because he's such a big time clutch performer. But yeah, I don't think there's much extra motivation that needs to be added, because that's the pinnacle of the game right there, playing against your division rival in a freaking 2-homer game. Like, that's the stuff you live for as a hitter. So I don't think he needs the extra motivation.
Needs? No. But here, I'll phrase it this way. Like, what if, and for both of you, what if I say, hey, go beat that guy in a boxing match right now, right? Just straight up. And you're like, okay. And then I put you in that scenario, and then same exact scenario in a vacuum. I go beat that guy in a boxing match right now. And first I have him come up to you and just slug you in the face. Will you perform maybe a little bit better?
You get more angry.
More angry, maybe there's some different kind of adrenaline. I'm not saying, like, that's my point. Does Harper hit those homers anyway? Maybe, probably, whatever. But my counter to what you said is, are there people that like to use things in general as motivation, as a chip on their shoulder? I mean, I mentioned in our first segment, Zach Gallen, when he was on this show, is like, yo, I think I should have gotten more Cy Young votes last year. I kept some of those names and votes down, not to like personally attack, but more for him to just be like, okay, they didn't think that I was good enough. And he said he's thought about that throughout the year. So I do think it can help someone tick a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think so. But from my side of it, I'm trying to go out and throw, 9 innings and punch out 20 guys every time. It doesn't matter if it's, opening day, if it's a meaningless start in July, or if it's the postseason. So I think Harper's kind of wired the same way. He's trying to go out there and go 4 for 4 with 4 homers. So, I think there could be, extra little chip on the shoulder because of some words that have been said. But, he's trying to go out there and make his, mark on the game and make an impact. And he's trying to hit a homer every time he comes to the plate, just like Gallen's trying to go to the mound and punch out the side every time he goes out there, just like I am. So, I don't think we need to draw extra motivation. But yeah, I think there definitely is, sometimes you have a little chip on your shoulder of trying to prove some people wrong, but that's not going to change how you perform or how you prepare for that game. You're still doing the same kind of things, and trying to go out there and do your best every time.
All right, you said you're going out to prepare to throw 9 innings, 20 punchies. What if you're put in a Jose Barrios situation where he was, or maybe he wasn't told he's coming out? One, have you ever been put in that situation where it's like, hey, you know what, Burnesy? I know you're our guy right here, but we're facing elimination, so we're going to pull you because of this and that reason. And two, how do you react if you are Barrios in that situation?
Yeah, I've personally never been in that spot. I've got a good relationship with Counts that if I'm throwing the ball well and he comes up to me and asks, how you're doing, if I say good, it's good. Okay, keep going. So I haven't had that situation where I may be dealing and he comes and says, hey, you're done, that kind of thing. So I haven't come across that. But yeah, being in his situation, I think would be tough. I think from his side of it, you got to be like, look, yeah, I'm throwing the ball well, but there's also the understanding of the elimination game. And if they feel like there's better matchups, there's a lot smarter people that are looking at that and saying, hey, this guy, doesn't have, has good numbers against you. It's the second time through, third time through, whatever it may be. I think analytics, obviously, as much as we, like it or dislike it, it's becoming more and more prevalent in the game. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think if I'm out there dealing, let me go, because stuff is different when you're throwing well versus when you got there your B or C stuff. So it's definitely tough. It's definitely I think it's kind of something similar we saw a few years back with the Blake Snell scenario in Tampa. It just kind of seems like there's always one situation that comes up every year where a manager's going to be questioned, and that's just part of the game.
All right, you said you have a good relationship with Counts, but what if you're on that mound right there? What are you like? Is there like some kind of like, no? Is there like a talk behind your hand? Like, Counts, you cannot take this ball from me right now. I promise. I got this guy.
Remember Woodruff too? He told us when he came on for, what was that, his complete game? They had a back and forth. It was funny. He talked for, as you'd probably imagine, like 6 minutes and gave us like literally word for word of what went down back and forth, and people loved it. He was just like, how many pitches I got? And they're like negotiating pitches on it.
And he talked about himself in the third person with a nickname too. True. Big Woo goes, come on, Big Woo, don't screw this up. But anyway, you're in that situation. Like, can you say that to Counts?
I've only had probably twice in the past 4 years where he's come out to the mound, I think gonna make a change, and I've told him like, no, I'm not done yet. And he kind of gets in my face, like, okay, then get this fucking guy out. But usually it's in between innings, coming in. Multiple times I've been through 6. We're at like that 95 pitch mark, and I'm walking off the mound. He's looking at me and just hits me dead square in the eye. And I just shake my head, no, like, nah, I'm not done. And he goes, okay, and he lets me go. So there's very few times we have conversations of like, hey, are you done? You want to go back out? Because he knows if he comes up to me and he asks, I'm always going to say, yeah, I'm going back out there. But I'm always going to try to go as many innings as I can. So most of the time he has to make that decision before he comes to me of like, hey, no, that's it. We're at 100 pitches, whatever it may be. But yeah, there's only been a couple times where he's come to the mound, and I think he's come out with the mindset of making a decision to take me out. And I've basically said, no, I'm not done. And kind of just says, okay, then fucking get this guy out. So.
Okay, so I'm going to try to smoothly transition this to a few minutes on the crew. So will you make a phone call like that at some point this offseason, if need be, to Counts, whether it's for him thinking about another team or just not coming back, and say, dude, I'm going to need you for a few more seasons here. I'm going to need you to come back. It's a unique situation. He's a free agent. I know he's been super tight about it. He hasn't said much. We get a lot of Brew Crew on this show. I don't think we've talked to you about it, but Freddie Peralta said he tried to talk to him a couple times about it and just was stonewalled. Like, he's just like, yeah, we'll deal with it later. Don't worry about it. But so I'm assuming he hasn't said anything to you, but even with that, do you have to make a phone call and be like, yo, I'm coming to the mound, Counts. Like, let's go, dude. I need more out of you.
I think, when I left Milwaukee at the end of the year, we always are in contact in the off season. And I think we'll even more so will be this off season as kind of things go. But Yeah, he hasn't really tipped his hand on anything of what's going to happen. I know he loves the Milwaukee Brewers. He grew up in Milwaukee, going to Brewers games. His dad worked there. He's loved managing there ever since he took over. So I would definitely find it difficult for him to leave to go somewhere else. Now, does he take a couple of years off to go spend time with his family? That's definitely a possibility. He's got 4 kids and college, high school age. So he's definitely been away from him. That's something I think that all dads can kind of relate to if you want to spend more time with your family and your kids. So I wouldn't count that out, but he's been in Milwaukee his whole life. I would find it very difficult for him to go somewhere else. But like you said, he's a free agent. He's probably the best manager available out there. So some team wants to go out and throw some ridiculous numbers at him. I think he's human, just like the rest of us are.
That was what I wanted to ask about. So, because he said, like, hey, I don't have a contract right now. It's okay to speculate about what will happen. I'm paraphrasing there. But that's my one thought process is, if you're a team, you can throw a number at someone as a player, as a coach, as an executive, any kind of role, right? You could throw a number at someone and say, hey, I want to keep you long-term, and this is what it looks like. He is a free agent at the moment. Would you be surprised or blame him if, he gets an offer that doubles his salary to go somewhere else, and he's like, listen, I got to live. Like, I'm going to do this for a few more years, and then I can just retire because I'm going to be so damn rich.
Yeah, I think if talks keep going long enough, I think there is that possibility that a team comes and offers some stupid number. But I think in the end, he takes that number, and if the Brewers can match it or at least get close, I think he goes back to Milwaukee just because that's where he's been, that's what he knows. That's what he loves. He's a Brewer, down to his core. So, do I think that some team is going to throw out a stupid number at him if it comes down to it? Absolutely. I mean, he would be the guy. If I was a GM or an owner, that's the guy I want running a team. We'll see. I think he's in kind of the best spot you can be as a manager.
He's going to make more than he did ever playing in a year.
Oh, hell yeah.
if he puts himself out on the market. All right, because they just advanced on to the NLCS, we need the Corbin Burnes scouting report of the Diamondbacks, please.
Yeah, they're a good young team. They're playing baseball right now like they were early on in the year when they were leading the division, beating everyone. It's kind of a lineup that when a few guys get hot, it seems like they all get hot at the same time and they become a very dangerous team. And I think we've seen that in our series and this, that Dodgers series. All of a sudden you get a couple guys starting to catch fire and Carroll and Marte, and then top to bottom, they swing the bat. They feed off each other. As you saw in that inning with 4 homers, they did it with me, with back-to-back homers, and a few innings later with the homer to Marino has been unbelievable. But yeah, I think when that offense gets going, it's almost, I wouldn't say comparable to the Braves because it's a different type of lineup, the way that they score runs. But I mean, man, when they all get going, it's an exciting team, and they play a different game than I think a lot of teams that are in that postseason with the speed, the contact, the on base. And I think that's where a lot of people don't realize big innings happen because of getting on base and the speed and the movement. Sometimes, a leadoff homer, a 2-run homer kind of kills the momentum of an inning, where these guys can keep it going with stolen bases and putting balls in the gap and running and the speed that they got from really top to bottom. So definitely an exciting team. And then, Gallen and Kelly at the top leading that staff is pretty tough to beat.
So I know you're never going to say you're afraid of a lineup, but of the 3 National League teams left, who do you think is the most difficult to navigate? Because the Braves run and slug, the Phillies run and slug, and the Diamondbacks, they've been slugging. They didn't slug quite like the other 2. But for you, which one's the hardest to navigate?
I would say the most difficult to navigate. I still got to say the Braves. I mean, the first 5 or 6 in that order, when they're all swinging the bat, like there's not many places you can go to get those guys out. You've really got to be on top of your game. There's the Phillies. They have a lot of there's a lot of swing and miss in the Phillies lineup. But when they're clicking, like when Harper's doing what he's doing, Castellanos is doing what he's doing. Like they're tough to beat, and then you got the Diamondbacks that are a team that's not going to punch out. So it's kind of three different lineups. But for me, I think the toughest to navigate would probably be the Braves. When they're clicking right now, they're struggling a little bit offensively, but 1 through really 6 or 7 in that order are really good.
Okay, so it's been a week. Have you processed the season, and what are your thoughts? And I know, like the season ends, it's weird. You talk to the media for 5 seconds, and maybe, you say some buys to some players. So, what did you think? Is the disappointment level high? Did anyone say something to you that kind of stood out? Because, I'm sure you're watching that series, and yes, the Diamondbacks are good and they're hot right now, but you're like, damn, we could have beaten the Dodgers and been in this NLCS too.
Yeah, it's tough, because we had such a good year. To go out and win 92 games is tough to do. And we had points in our season where we really struggled, and then we had points where we were really, really good. So as the season as a whole, I think we're kind of proud of what we did and how we played. And, obviously how we ended the postseason was tough, was disappointing, because we felt like we had a really, really good team to go deep in the postseason. We felt like we were lined up well. We just came across a hot team that played better baseball than us for 2 games. But I think, as a season on the whole, I think we're, happy with how it went, proud of how it went. Personally, I'm, pleased again. I was, able to take the ball every time through the order. That's kind of my goal, is to every 5 days be out on the mound and help the team, win and give them a chance to win. So that's kind of was my goal from the beginning of every season, is to be healthy, throw as many innings as I can. Obviously we dealt with a bunch of injuries in the rotation, but we had a lot of guys step up that threw the ball well. So, I think it was, on the whole, it was a good year, and just a disappointing finish to a good season overall.
All right. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen to Counts, but let's paint a quick scenario here. Counts is gone. I'm in as the manager. Are you happy or are you not happy?
When are you being named as the manager? Is it soon, or is it later in the season, later in the off season? Because if it's later in the off season, I might be hosed and have to come back. But if it's early enough, I might be able to petition for a trade.
January 30th.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm hosed. I think I'm stuck.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure I push out negotiations.
There's a stack of resumes right over there that he's sending out to the teams for all the managerial opens.
For all the openings. 4.
Wow. Now we're gonna keep him on this show, at least for now. So don't worry. We'll sign him to a bigger contract than Couch, so we'll keep him here.
There you go.
Corbin, enjoy some downtime here. We'll get you in a few weeks later in the off season, and say hi to your boy behind us for us.
Yep, we'll do. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Corbin. Appreciate you. That's Corbin Burnes on FT Live. Be right back.
Well, Todd, it's a good question. I'm a little bit postseason fried right now, so I'm not thinking about which pitchers might be available. But my point is, when you have young talent, you can basically get, or at least start a conversation with anybody or any team you want about any player you want. Because if you're willing to trade that young talent, it's so valued at this stage of the game's evolution that teams would be willing to listen on maybe pitchers who are 0 to 3 years of service, right? If you can trade 2 top offensive prospects for those kinds of guys, I'm not talking about Gunnar Henderson, I'm not talking about Adley Rutschman, I might be talking about a Jordan Westburg, someone of that caliber, then you open things up. And they're going to have to do some things. There's no question. I thought not only were they short on starting pitching, when you look at their lineup, they need a guy in the middle of the order who is just a badass, for lack of a better term. And it's not that Gunnar Henderson isn't, he is. But I'd like to see a veteran guy in that order really just presenting problems for the other team. And they're not going to spend on a Corey Seager type, and there aren't many position players out there on the free agent market this year. But maybe there are things they can do trade-wise to make that happen. I would say Minnesota. Houston has had their number, as we know. Now, their fans want Houston. I get that. It's a great rivalry, and the Houston Astros are the team of the last half decade, if not longer. It's 6 straight ALCSs, maybe going on 7, right? But I would say Minnesota because they are less battle tested, although they're fine. I like that team a lot. I would guess Minnesota just because of the Houston myth or the way they've dominated them over the years.
And now back to foul territory. Boring. Every ALCS is the same, or at least half of it's the same. The Houston Astros for how many? 7 consecutive years?
How does crow taste? Are we supposed to eat crow right now because we keep picking against the Astros in different locations?
Yeah, that's fine as long as like everyone's eating crow, because anyone that had them 7 straight besides the fan base, you are very smart and hopefully very wealthy at this point with your bets. But congrats to them, and congrats to Justin Verlander, who it actually did sound like was tossed to the mic to address the boys a little bit unprompted by Dusty Baker. And I love that. And he was ready for it. And cable television, I guess, was not.
Time, all right? Don't take that for granted. On 7, everybody pop these motherfuckers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I like the beginning of that speech. That was before that.
There were 80 F-bombs, and they were all on, what, FS1, I think it was?
It was
all of them, because then they went on, they're like,
scrambling.
our bad. Wait, it was good, because they go, our bad. And then after that, Big Papi was on that show, and he's like, "Oh, I'll eat the fines." And they're like, "That's really nice of you." I'm like, "You're not eating those fines." I don't even know. I don't know how it works anymore. I never knew how it worked, but I think you get something in the mail. Like,
I thought it was 6 figures. Maybe
for each one?
No, I think the way I heard
just
it
like
explained,
in that time period.
And maybe there's people that know more than this, but it's like you get a 1 or 2 grace period. You know, when they have like the big things that pick up everything on the football field.
Yes.
And then from there, it becomes like a tiered system of fines. But hey, this is like Bigfoot. Nobody ever actually knows.
Can we clip this then? So what I'd like to do is ask the media experts out there if they can clarify what Kratz is saying, and if we can actually count. Like if JV put out 6 F-bombs, is he getting charged after those first 2 grace period for the 4? Not him, but like Fox or whatever. Like
Fox.
Right. But I'm saying, are they getting an FCC letter saying, hey, and it's definitely snail mail, saying, hey, 4 F-bombs, $200K a pop, $800K is your bill, pay it on time or we'll charge you interest. I just want to know, genuinely.
I feel like that's steep. But
I think it's steep too. I'm just saying, I don't know how it works.
I also feel like his whatever, he was on the mic, he was able to say something, Dusty threw it to him. It was great because he was like, we struggled all year, even though I wasn't even here most of the year, and everyone's like laughing and going, and there was a lot of good. That's the clubhouse stuff that we need to get, and I love that part of it. I love what he said. Kind of de facto got the boys going. Counting to 7, never heard that one either.
That was good. It was very well done by JV. Props to the Astros. We'll get to more of the game stuff coming up too in a little bit. But our picks for tonight's big game 4 coming up. Carlos Correa was booed by the Houston crowd. It sounded like he was booed louder than anyone else. I'm like, hold up, wait. Like, I was trying to process what was going on, what he did for the team, what he goes through at every other ballpark. And I'm like, now he's not even welcome in Houston? Weird.
No, first of all, I'll answer before I have to go because Dan gets to show up later than I do. So, yeah, I was shocked when his ovation reaction, whatever you want to call it, because it was more boos than cheers, and for what he did for that organization was pretty amazing. And I also want to say this before I go, and I'll let Dan speak on this. Yesterday, you talk about people in the crowd at Santana and Mauer throughout the first pitch, Gaetti, Gladden, all Twins Hall of Famers, right? I got to introduce Adam Wainwright to Paul Molitor, Jack Morris, Rod Carew, and Tony Oliva yesterday. I mean, you want to talk about a day? Adam Wainwright was like, this is one of the greatest days of my life. So think about the people that have run through the Twins organization, and they were all there yesterday. And it was a special atmosphere. And I agree with Dan that it's going to be amazing tonight. But yeah, I was surprised because one day Carlos Correa, he's probably, if the Astros have a Hall of Fame, there's a good chance he's going to be in it.
Yeah, with Correa, I'll say this: he knows to expect to be booed. He's said it. He's like, it's probably less booing here than it is in most other places, but I get booed everywhere, so I'm used to it. He really tried to keep an arm's length thing with his former teammates. He told them we will talk after the series, but that's like he said thank you for the congratulations, but that's it. Let's talk after the series. We'll resume being friends then. He understands the Astros fans that they see him as the enemy now just for this. It's not his fault that he's not in Houston. He would have loved to have stayed, but it's the playoffs. Last year when he came back in August 22, it was fantastic reception. It was the best road reception that he's gotten anywhere. So he knows the love is there. He said fans were coming up to him before the workout that day and saying, hey, good luck. We love seeing you. Good luck. And he's like, are you sure you want to say good luck to me? I am playing for the other team. So he's not surprised by it.
And now back to foul territory.
What's up? We keep rolling on Stadium FT Live. Braun Erik Kratz with you for now. We're going to get a little conversation going in the second hour with Dodger Nation expert. I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm just going to hold off on what the name is, but we're going to get really deep on the Dodgers. And then Max Muncy will join us. Not the Max Muncy that normally joins us. There is another Max Muncy.
Be a lot cooler if they did. If we had them on at the same time, man, it'd be crazy.
We actually could have done that, but
we could have, but some things happened that we'll talk to Pasillas about.
Exactly. All right, so let's go over our locks. So your BetMGM locks for Wednesday were mostly a dud.
AJ's so hot in the playoffs right now.
He's feeling it. He's a playoff guy. It actually makes sense because he's had some playoff success.
Yeah.
So good for him. Anyway, money bags are updated. Kratzimir's still good, although I'm hurting a little bit right now. I'm losing dough.
I love your 68 and 59.
Right. The record's tight.
That's special.
True. So let's get back on track here, and you can start because then I'm kind of doing one that's a tribute to you guys, to my friends.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're idolizing me and AJ.
I'm joining the dark side is basically how you should think about it, okay?
And I'm joining the easy side because if the Braves don't do this, they don't have a shot. Whether or not they do have a shot is still up in the air, but if they don't do this, I'm taking Bryce Harper over 0.5 walks. Haven't seen a half a walk yet, so I'm saying he's going to walk and is paying out at plus 105. If they don't pitch around him, it will be Dunsky in Philly tonight. Bet him in the bank.
That's the guy you need to avoid.
Yes. You need to make Alec Boehm, who's going to be hitting behind him, hurt you.
Okay.
Especially with Spencer Strider. And I'm not saying that's, people are like, well, I don't care, bro. I'm going right after him. I got 12 strikeouts against Bryce Harper. Okay. It's fine. Just know. It's like in poker. Are you willing to lose on a 8 or a 10 ace hand? It's your choice. You can be huge in this. You can go big all in, or you can be smart and just get the next guy out because he's hot. He's hitting almost 500 against the Braves in the postseason. Don't let him beat him.
Fair. I like it. I'll tail it. And then here's my complicated mess. So I'm trying to get under on the total runs, but I just felt like it's a little too low of a number for me. So I bought up to get to 9.5. And I'm at minus 135 with the same game parlay. I did that by getting 1 strikeout from Ranger Suarez. Can I get 1?
1?
And 2 hits from Spencer Strider. 2+, obviously, and 1+. So there it is. There's the package. Evaluate it for 1 second. Let me know your thoughts. I was just trying to pick 1K, 2 hits,
all
and
to
then
get to minus
to get myself to 9.5.
Why don't you just take the over?
No, I don't like that. Because it could be 3-2 or 2-1. Like I could see it being low. and I wanted to mess with that. I didn't want to mess with the game or the line there. Just think there's too many variables. The one thing that I think is most likely is that pitching shows up on both sides.
But I think Rangers, based on what I hear from
going short.
He's going short again.
Yeah, but if I get 3 innings out of Ranger Suarez, can I get 1K?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're getting 1, but that's why I stayed completely away from it.
Okay. Just dabbling.
That's exciting.
Dabbling. Okay. So
that's exciting for you.
A lot to pay attention to. Thank you. Thank you. FOUL200 is your bonus code for new users on the BetMGM Sportsbook app or on BetMGM.com. When you place at least $10 on that first wager, you'll receive $200 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. So you sign up and deposit at least $10 into that new account. Place that wager at least $10 at standard odds price. And then once you've placed a qualifying bet, which is the standard odds price there, you'll receive $200 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while we have 1 extra minute here, BetMGM let us know what tickets were highly hit for tonight's game. So Austin Riley over 1.5 total hits, runs, and RBIs is up there. It's at -115. Spencer Strider over 8.5 punchies at +110. That's scary to me. So many things that could happen to prevent that. That's a lot. And then Bryce Harper over, half a homer, because no one's ever hit half a homer. So 1 homer, +450. 99% of the bets are on the over. Yeah, because how many people, raise your hand if you're watching from home right now, how many people are betting unders on homers? That's not fun.
That's boring.
That's not fun.
That's boring.
That's a tough.
I'm sure there's some kind of algorithm that you could be like,
oh, I got it. Yeah,
I definitely keep hitting on this one, and you're like,
just imagine every player comes
$2.30 in the last 3 weeks.
Right. You have to lay so much down. Imagine each player comes up, and you're like, oh, contact deep left. Don't leave the yard. That's a lot.
Who says that?
I have enough trouble betting on the under as it is. It freaks me out. So. Hour number 2, let's get right into the Dodgers' disastrous sweep city against Arizona.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's up? Hour 2, and let's really get into it on some of the games that went down on Wednesday night. Some surprising outcomes maybe for some of you out there. I don't know how many people had, the Dodgers getting swept. Yeah, maybe after the 2 games, but before the series. Interesting. Dodger Nation's Clint Pasillas is going to join us soon. He's the lead editor there, so we'll get really deep on what went down with the Dodgers, what went wrong with the Dodgers. So stay tuned on that front. I just wanted to finish up a combo on the Houston Astros. Their bullpen's really good. Their pitching's solid. There's not one person that should be able to say, let's see it. I don't think this team can win a World Series. There were times during this year where I felt like people were like, oh, the Astros, they're not as good this year. I promise you on this show alone, there have been people that we have had writers on with the Astros kind of down this year. Are they? And also would it be the same if, they won 96 games instead of 90? Is that what changes things? A few games here or there. I think for me, the biggest problem was actually, the hint is right there. What happened with them against the Royals and the A's during that little stretch? You're like, hello, are you there? Hello. But like, maybe they weren't there. Maybe they're just jaded and they're like, yo, we're good. We'll get in there. No.
I think
so what? The Royals just smacked them a little bit?
No, I think it woke them up. They weren't
Okay.
sitting there going, whatever. But I think those series woke them up.
Mm-hmm.
I think they went, especially because they went back and played the Royals again. And it was like, okay, we got these guys. And maybe that was like the little that they needed. And they're firing on all cylinders right now. When you have Jose Abreu hitting dingers and you're thinking about moving him up in the lineup to protect Tucker and Yordan. But to me, the biggest thing, what Dusty Baker allowed Urquidy to do, that has not been the narrative at all this postseason from any of the managers. It has been, okay, I know you haven't started a game since, what was it, like July something he hadn't started a game?
Been a minute.
He's been, the opener. Dusty loves that guy. And he let him out there after Julian hit the home run off of him. That is so much trust. And there's never any way to quantify this, but that trust is seen throughout the entire clubhouse. Whether or not you think, if you're Chas McCormick and you're like, Dusty doesn't like me, he thinks I'm fat. All the narratives that are out there, Dusty Baker instills trust in his players. And those are little things that helps everybody be confident. If you weren't confident enough, and people be like, oh, you have to be confident, you're in the big leagues. It's not all the time. Not everybody's confident. But to me, him sticking with Urquidy there as long as he did, and then Urquidy rewarding the manager, they got to both feel really good about it moving forward.
Well, he does that with players too. He did that with Abreu. I mean, there was times where people were like, you got to start sitting Abreu. He's done. It's on a 3-year contract. They're like, he better not be done. It happened last year. Yuli Gurriel certainly took a step back, but then they played him in the playoffs and he played pretty damn well. He had some key knocks for them. So I will give them credit. They're doing things that a lot of other teams are not doing. They are. And you can say they're super analytical, but some of those things are not, right? They are using what's called feel at times to keep a starter in the game, to have faith in the veterans. Also, veterans do matter, okay? We've seen plenty of rookies in this playoffs alone. Some have been like Corbin Carroll, although very few. And there have been many that have looked like they're out of steam, pitchers and hitters alike. And that includes dudes on the Dodgers. So let's actually get into them right now, right? James Outman had a really, really tough finish to the season. The Dodgers' young pitching that we were talking about wasn't there yet to be able to take them through a series. Dodger Nation's Clint Pasillas joining us right now, lead editor at DodgersNation.com. Did I nail the pronunciation too? How'd I do?
Crushed it, Scott. Appreciate you.
That's awesome. And I love that you're already moved on to the NFL season there.
With that hat.
It's sadly it's becoming a tradition here in the house where I get to flip. At least my Eagles are 5-0 right now. I feel a little better about that. And hey, right now, jokingly on social media, let's go Rangers. I'm all about Creed. I'm all about the Rangers, but we're here to talk about the Dodgers for sure.
Okay, so let's start super big picture, okay? Because this team has been a playoff team for so many years now. Is the way that you will think about the decade plus run of the Dodgers, which is still continuing, like 20 years from now, wow, that team was like the Atlanta Braves. It's just dominance in the division, and they'd get to the playoffs every year. And they won one year, and I'm okay. I mean, 2020, it's still the same tournament and all that. But that people will say is if they don't pull off titles at some point, they're just a good regular season ball club.
Hey, you have connective tissue there with Stan Kasten running both of those clubs in some way, shape, or form. Not throwing Stan under the bus, just putting that out there. But yeah, at this point, Dodgers Nation, the fan base, it went from frustrating. It went from there's a lot of excuses. And yeah, even at this team, you could point to a lot of different things that went wrong. Starting pitching, they did not have a glut of starting pitching ready to go. But at some point, it gets embarrassing. This is, you guys know how it is on social media. It is on the X, as they call it now. There's a lot of smack talk. Dodgers fans talk a lot of smack back, and then it seems like we can't back it up, or the team can't back it up unless it's a shortened season, and they still feel like they're playing game 61 of the season in 2020, which I will say, I'm going to point it out before I get a lot of crap for that. Everybody had the same amount of opportunity to win that year, and the Dodgers just happened to do it. Also, it helps when Corey Seager goes on God mode, like he's doing again.
Yeah, they could have re-signed Corey Seager too, couldn't they have? They could have. I mean,
Kratzy, I don't want to talk about it.
Sorry to bring that up. Hey, we're Eagles fans together. Okay, so we've got a lot of sunshine here that we can bring. Okay,
Yes,
Corey
sir.
Seager probably would have been the play, but hey, you know what? You guys will get Shohei Ohtani, and all will be right in the world.
Well, we'll spend a few minutes on that.
Because he's a good playoff player. I know he's going to be a great playoff player.
He's got a lot of
I hope to see it one day.
Yeah.
Do you see a difference in this team? You watch this team. We watch a lot of baseball. We don't watch every game like you watch every game. Do you see a difference in this team in the playoffs compared to what you see night in and night out for 162 games?
1,000%. We're going beyond 100%. It's the calendar shifts, and you see the tension. You see the team get nervous. I explained it on my show where it's like you almost got in a car wreck with Grandpa in the car, and every time you get in the car now, like, I don't want to disappoint Grandpa. Like when they made, and I'm sure at some point you guys might bring it up or whatever, but when they made the seismic shift in the roster last postseason, after last postseason, you let Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger go. I was like, all right, maybe it's this core. Maybe you change it up and you go a different route. But you saw the same nerves. You saw the same just kind of fear. And I don't know if it's fear, but they look scared out there. Like they didn't want to embarrass or disappoint the fan base there at Dodger Stadium. So the excitement of maybe they move on. Maybe they're not a 100-win team. Maybe they're not even a division-winning team. Maybe they don't need to open at Dodger Stadium, where kind of over the last decade, they don't play well in the playoffs at Dodger Stadium, and we saw it again. And, credit to the Diamondbacks. They came out ready to win and with nothing to lose, and that's a very fun ball club that had excitement like we saw with the Padres last year.
Yeah, a lot of credit to the Diamondbacks. But a lot of credit to the Dodgers. They were still in all of these games.
Yes.
But to me, and the series doesn't hinge on one at bat, but the reason you are putting on an NFL hat right now, and I hope it's an Eagles hat if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we got birds. We got birds.
Yeah, let's go. Go Birds. The reason you have your NFL hat on today and not a Dodger blue hat for a Game 4 isn't because you brought Austin Barnes in. But that is to me, that's a microcosm of what I see from afar from the Dodgers, that they would bring their last possible position player off the bench, and it's Austin Barnes, a fellow backup catcher. He's had a better career than I have had, but that is
who was he replacing?
He was
David Peralta.
David Peralta.
I know he's cold right now, but David Peralta?
He hit .317 against lefties during the year, and I know it's like 30-some at-bats.
So what? Are you kidding me? We're comparing those two in terms of hitting profiles against anyone right now in the bigs?
Yeah, we see some, I wouldn't call them panic moves, but we're Dave Roberts defenders. It's getting much more difficult to be a Dave Roberts defender. However, it's hard to really say he did a whole lot wrong, because Barnesy had a great, from August on, he hit, I think over 270 or whatever. He was getting on base. He was putting good wood on the ball. Still, the fact that you were left in that situation where you pinch hit your, $6.5 million offseason acquisition, somebody who carried you through the most of the season, and go to your backup catcher who hadn't played since I think September 30th in the biggest, the spot that's going to keep your season alive. It is pretty dang questionable. And when you look at when they did maybe overthink the roster heading into the DS here, putting that 26-man roster together, and Dave Roberts told us that the reason they went with who am I looking for? They went with Colton Wong, who had a nice series off the bench, but they went with Colton Wong over Ahmed Rosario because the Diamondbacks don't really have left-handed pitching. That situation might not come up. Well, it did, and it was in an elimination game, and Austin Barnes is the guy they went with.
Do you think it's more surprising how bad the beginning of games went for them, or that the team is looking at Mookie and Freddie and getting consistent, incredible performances almost every single day during an 162-game campaign? And then they turn to them, and I know it's only 3 games, and Mookie said it himself, I contributed nothing to this series.
Nothing. Yeah. That's this is a team that lives and dies with Marcus Lynn Betts and Fred Word Freeman. That's not his real name, but to have that happen, I don't know if it stems from the first inning of game 1. Everything kind of started with and also big time love to James Outman. It was a very tough play in center field, but he healed it. He's going to tell you he's got to make that play, and then the walls started closing in immediately. That's the first fly out, the first out. Kershaw goes on to give up 6 runs in the inning. They're down 9-0 before the seats are warm in LA, and people could actually get into the stadium because of shite traffic. Everything started closing in from there, and Mookie just did not take good swings. And, he didn't want to hear about it after game 2. You have no choice after game 3. And he owned up. It's like, look, I did nothing to help. Your top 2 hitters in the lineup have 1 base hit in the 3 games, and it's on an infield single that Freddie barely beat out. That's tough. So to borrow from Blink 182 and our friend Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown, Mookie and Freddie, where are you? Because they did not show up. And I am available for weddings and bar mitzvahs in the offseason.
That is tremendous. I don't think Blink 182 or Creed are going to be sung at weddings or bar mitzvahs, but hey, you know what?
I hope not.
We'll see it. We'll see if it works out. What changes need to be made? Is the whole offseason hinged on Ohtani being the starting pitch? Oh, wait, no, he's not going to be a starting pitcher next year. So
Yeah.
Is this do you feel like this needs to be a reverse course, or are the Dodgers going to say, no, we're good. Look how many games we won. The playoffs are really tough.
Yeah, this is the hardest one. I thought, being a fan and being, somebody in media doing all this kind of stuff, I thought I knew everything. So I thought after last season, again, they really changed the culture in the clubhouse. Yeah, you still have some pieces in there with Freddie, with Mookie. Max Muncy's a huge voice in that clubhouse, but you lost Justin Turner. It's like maybe it's not on him, but there was a change there. That's a seismic change. That was Dave Roberts, field general, in there. He had something he wanted to say to somebody. You tell JT first, and he puts his arm around a player. You lose that, and you change so much of that team, of the roster, the culture in there. You assumed, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's not going to be such a boring team that we had saw. 21, they fell apart. There was injuries. 22, they didn't take enough of the gas station, get hard pills and crush an energy drink and go play and have a good time. This team I thought would be different. They somehow roll out of bed and win another 111 or 100 games, and then this happens. I don't know what you do. Dave Roberts, brilliant manager, one of the best managers you'll ever see. Yeah, he has the keys to a Ferrari, to a Maserati, to whatever the hell car you want to call it. And he's one of the better drivers, but I don't know, a brake locks up, something happens during the postseason, and I don't know what you change, but I'm sure Andrew Friedman, Brandon Gomes, they're going to have some interesting conversations over the next few days. And Dodger fans, they want to see something change. This is the offseason where you did your change last offseason. It ultimately gave you the same results. Technically worse. You got swept. At least you won a game against the Padres. What do you change now? What do you change now? I ask you, Kratzy, you've been there. You've played this team in the postseason, and it's a team that's built to eventually, beat a team down in 7 games or whatever. They lost that dog.
They did. And just to mention, just to talk about that series, they didn't hit worth a lick that series. They got a couple big hits. I didn't keep a ball in front. Manny Machado moved up to second base, and Cody Bellinger hit a base hit through the hole to win the extra inning game. And then we went four-seamer up and in, and it ran across the plate, and Bellinger hit a dinger in Milwaukee. I think it's the first ever MVP of the NLCS that hit under 180.
We'll take him where we can get him.
No doubt. But that's
yeah.
But that's also part of. I say those exact same things on the flip side as a Dodger, and I'm saying as a Dodger front office and being like, that's all it takes in the postseason. That's all we need. So we're just going to keep plugging away.
They need more bats.
You had a Bellinger hit, and you had a massive game-saving play from Chris Taylor. The moments that really get a team going. And the last two off seasons, they said it multiple times last off season. We just didn't get the hit. The other team did. They said the same. Mookie said essentially the same thing last night. We didn't get the hit. They did.
I think that from what I've gathered from Dodger fans, it will be a bigger disappointment in their minds if they don't land Shohei Ohtani versus the disappointment that they just faced in the playoffs. My view of the feedback that I get from our chat and YouTube and all the socials that get hit up is that half of the Dodger fans that are in the FT fam that follow us are like, yo, we're not expecting much here. We don't have the pitching. We just don't feel good about this team. We don't think we're a World Series team. Sure, we're supposed to be the Diamondbacks, but I did not get positive vibes about this team going into right now, not going into the year, not going into a month ago, right now. But the conversation already while the series was starting is like, yo, when is it time for us to start talking Ohtani again? So I think it's going to be one of the biggest stories that we've ever seen in the offseason. And I do genuinely think that the Dodgers have been talked about with Ohtani and linked to him so much already that if they don't get him, I think it's going to be one of the most devastating time periods in the history of the franchise, which is crazy because it's like one dude and he can go anywhere and there's other teams with money and whatever else. But it's that much of a front runner and it's that much reliance from Dodger fans. Do you get the same vibes?
Yeah, I mean, this was the whole, we keep going back. I keep going back to last offseason, and everything was like, we're letting all these guys go to save up money. You're trying to save the piggy bank or the Shohei piggy bank. I don't know if Shohei is 100% the answer, but I know everybody is clamoring for this guy. They're looking at him as the savior for this team in the postseason next year and beyond. But the problem is, you guys already said it. Shohei isn't pitching in 2024. And the Dodgers put together, I think it was historically the worst starting pitching performance over the 3 games. I mean, you have Lance Lynn, he had an inning, of some dog, 2 innings of dog in there, but then the wheels came off really quick. He was the starting pitcher leader going 2 2/3 innings. That's just not going to cut it. So you need more. You need more than Shohei.
So, okay.
And JD Martinez had a nice year.
JD was phenomenal during the regular season. He played in only 120, 130 games, whatever it is. He missed significant time, over 100 RBI, 30 homers. JD is back. He did what he's supposed to do. Sadly, JD does not pitch.
And also, sadly,
Shohei doesn't either.
Right, but sadly, next year, Shohei's a DH only, and so is JD.
Yeah.
So is it successful if Shohei comes over and he hits 33 homers and 105 RBI?
No.
Because if you're expecting more,
if they add 2 or 3, I don't even know what they're. You don't have the Garrett Cole. Yeah, I mean he's got some bomb dogs in there. You don't have a Garrett Cole this coming winter. You don't really have like the extremely elite starting pitching that's going to be available out there. And yeah, the Dodgers have some really good young talent. They are going to get Walker Buehler back next season, but you don't know what he's going to look like. You don't know what Clayton Kershaw is going to be, where he's going to be, what he's going to be doing, and if how well he can pitch into next season. So you need pitching, and I don't know how much is available out there. But Shohei, nice, not going to be a savior.
I will point out there is still a pretty big difference in stats that front offices are looking at. I'm telling you, the OPS plus, hundreds league average, big number. And they go weighted runs created plus. I do OPS plus usually for fans because weighted runs sounds too nerdy and the stats are very similar.
Appreciate it.
Yes, 184 for Shohei, 134 for JD. That's a massive difference still. And it's no slight. 134 is like all-star status. 184 is MVP status in terms of just the offense. That's just an offensive number. So he was 304, 412, 654 slug, 44 dingers, and RBIs doesn't matter. The Angels suck, so I'm not looking at those that much, but 95 RBIs. So he's going to help the offense a ton if he's in this series that happened just now. Because that's the thing. I mean, yes, the pitching sucked, and we'll get to them in a sec. But what was the final score last night? 4-2?
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
Like Dodgers, we said this about the Braves too. Like they were going to have to. You're going to have to win some games in a series like this, like 5-4. Also, the Diamondback staff's good. It's not elite. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, it's kind of like this struggle where some people are like, oh, we didn't have the pitching, whatever. But I'm like, but you didn't have the offense either. Not in this series, at least. Offense didn't show up.
The last two postseasons, they really didn't have the offense. Last year, the bullpen was much worse, and that's kind of what didn't help them get past the Padres. But the bats, you got to put up some runs. My co-host likes to say, if you want the dub, you got to slug. I say, if you want the dub, go score some runs. You score more points than the other team, you win. It's crazy. It's a simple game when you think about it. And it comes from the top. And Shohei's not going to be batting first, second, and third in the Dodger lineup next year. He's not going to do enough. And solo homers, as we saw from JD in the series, I think he just had the one bomb. It's not going to do enough. Just the one homer is not going to. You need to get some guys on, get some ducks on the pond, drive them in, keep the line moving, all that jazz. And Shohei, nice. Very nice, but again, not the difference maker. And there's just a world of problems. Is it the culture? I don't think that. I don't know. This is the most lost I've been with this team for sure.
A world of problems with 100-win team. Sounds like
it's real tough.
You're playing the world's smallest fiddle. 100 wins because the team across the street in LA, they would love to get 100 wins in 2 seasons. But who is going to get?
211 wins, 1 postseason win the last 2 years. That's pretty rough.
So here it is. Here's your rotation next year. Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller. This is where you pick me up. Blake Snell.
Right. You got Blake Snell's honestly that's my guy.
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, but what about the young dudes? And what about? I mean, we got to bring up Clayton.
Yeah, it's Ryan.
We got to bring up Emmett. Like what? Yeah, fill this
out.
For us.
I have a Clayton Kershaw take, but I'm too afraid to put it on out to the world. But I think he's got to be done. He's got to be done at this point, and it's not because Dodger fans don't. I love Clayton Kershaw with every fiber of my being. I don't know how he can want to come back to this. Last year it had the feeling of jobs not finished. This time you were picked out of a grocery store to fight prime Mike Tyson, and he just wailed on you. He was ready. And it's falling apart, man. The shoulder's not good, and it's the Dodgers. They don't tell you what's going on. So I think there's a point. If we're talking about, I keep going back to it. Last offseason, the change was you lose Justin Turner. That is a massive voice in that clubhouse. The guy right next to him was Clayton Kershaw. He's not doing anything wrong. He's not the guy who's going to be out there, hitting leadoff. But he's the guy who Dave loves to start in game 1. And I don't know if he's a game 1 starter anymore. So there's a lot of questions with Clayton, man. And this was not the send-off I think anybody was hoping for. But beyond the Kershaw, there is some brightness, and you mentioned Emmett Sheehan. You got Ryan Pepio, who, if he did not, his side didn't give out at the end of spring training. He was a man on a mission. And there's other guys, down in the system. Kyle Hurt. You have Landon Knack. I mean, there's some names down there that are intriguing, but they're not like, all right, this team's going to go out and be a World Series favorite. Yeah, Blake Snell, that's really, really nice. Jordan Montgomery, very good pitcher. He's not going to excite the fan base, but those are some of the moves that at least tell your fans, look, we're trying. we're going to do what we can to make this team right, make this team better. And, it's a win of an offseason if you go out and get like a Blake Snell and a Shohei. It's also a lot of money. Michelada prices.
Yes, that is definitely some expensive Dodger dogs. But let's say, okay, I have the answer. All right. There's a left-hander available for the Dodgers. This year, he went a decent 13-5 with a 2.46 ERA with a plus 177 ERA plus.
So he's almost
he's only looking for 1-year deals, probably in like the $10 to $15 million range.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want him?
How many starts am I going to get out of him?
25.
Sounds good for the regular season. We can make it through another regular season. I'll take him, but I need.
So you're going to leave him off the playoff roster?
I don't know. Do I leave Hall of Famers off the playoff roster?
You don't have as the Phillies say, to leave Clayton Kershaw off the playoff roster. But that is for me. I asked that question, and if I would have Doc here, if I would have Dave Roberts here, I would ask the same thing. Was that an obligatory Game 1 start? Was that automatic? Like you were bringing Austin Barnes in for David Peralta automatic?
What was your alternative?
That was just the state of the rotation. The Julio Urias situation that really just threw a wrench in the whole plan, the whole system. Not that he was having a great season, and I don't want to talk too much about that situation because I don't think as a Dodger fan really that wants to see that guy back. But with Kershaw, that was what you had. Bobby Miller, rookie. You probably don't want to throw him out there in Game 1. Hindsight, I probably would have gone Lance Lynn just because he is a guy who has that raw and has that dog in him. But to the question, yeah, you're looking at the numbers. You're plugging in 25 starts with all of the Hall of Fame type of backing that you can get out of Kersh. You plug that into the starting rotation for the regular season. But obligatory Game 1 start, I would say it's like a 60-40, maybe in 50-50. It was what they had.
Okay. All right. I like Bobby Miller Game 1. Set a tone with a young guy as you're moving forward with your young rotation.
Yeah. It's hard to do that and look back because he didn't pitch well. I agree. I love Bobby Miller, and I thought he was going to do well.
I'm saying before you make the decision.
Sure.
If you Bobby
would have
that guy.
I really feel Bobby would have been, if it was Game 1, he would have had, he had the weight of all of this, terror or whatever we're going to call, all of the scared, the frightened team trying to put that on his back. And he's succeeded in the past during this season. He's kind of been that stopper, but situation got very big for him very quick, and that's to be expected. This is his first go through with this. He's still very much a work in progress. They did not expect him to even come up and be on the big league roster in May, let alone starting Game 2 for them in the NLDS.
If I say one person's name, do you get angry? And tell me which way do you get angry? Trevor Bauer was a really good pitcher.
I will limit my comments on that. I'll just say, I hope he's having a nice, season in Japan. And, I'm a public figure, it says in my Twitter profile. But if you're looking at the pitcher, if you're looking at the numbers and you eliminate any human being to any person, yeah, you want someone with the ilk and the backing of the Mickey Mouse Cy Young in your rotation there.
Fair. All right. Lastly, what is going to be the top complaint in your mind from your fan base? Like, what are you going to hear about?
It's always, sadly, always Dave Roberts. It's forever going to be fire Dave Roberts. We have these comments. Listen.
Wait, you have to explain to them how the modern manager works, okay? It's very simple.
Yeah.
They don't have that much say. There's like 5 dudes that tell the front office, shut the fuck up. We went over this the other day, right? Dusty says, shut the fuck up. Bochy says, shut the fuck up. Doc does not. So people need to relax. Hey, guess who else does that every second they can? Yankee fans. I can't stand Boone. He's the worst, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do you see your roster right now? You guys suck right now. This year, like, their veterans either got hurt or fell apart. I'm like, The team sucks. Any manager that was managing them and Rodon was a nothing. Like, you add everything up. They had 2 players on a 26-man roster, essentially. I'm like, what does that have to do with Aaron Boone? Like, you're blaming him for everything?
Yeah.
Obviously, I put way more on front offices most of the time because 90% of the front offices in baseball are running the ship. They make the big bucks. They do all of that. The roster, the decisions, the game planning. And there's a reason why they won't come out and say otherwise. And actually, there are now, this is becoming a thing, quite a few front office people around the game that actually just fucking lie. They come out and they say, oh, it's not, everything's on the manager. It's not me. That is such bullshit. And I will say that for a fact.
We'll just say, the Dodgers have a way of choosing their words and choosing their narratives, very wisely for them. To give Dave his credit, he is a brilliant manager of people. He keeps these teams together, and that's the only thing that really gets you through multiple 100-win seasons. I'll throw back to that 2018 team that was a hodgepodge that Cody Bellinger didn't have his best year. You brought in Matt Kemp as part of some sort of weird salary, shedding with the Braves. They had who else did they have? They had
Puig.
Puig, there you go. I was going with Puig. Somehow he made that team into a cohesive unit. And, also Kike not getting all the playing time in the world. CT3 having a really good, career up to that point. Not that he hasn't since. I'm just saying, like, at that point, like, he's probably starting anywhere else, but he's kind of, relegated to that utility knife. We call him the Swiss, what is it? Chris Tamer, I don't know. I can't, I'm trying to steal my buddy's thing, but anyways, I crushed that one, guys. Make sure that's a cut on Twitter. Like, I want to see that one.
Yeah. You'll retweet the hell out of that.
Yeah. Watch this idiot stumble to steal someone else's joke. But Dave can keep these guys together and keep them, he keeps the line moving in the regular season, and he keeps people happy, and he understands the people you point to in your clubhouse that are going to control the clubhouse. Jason Hayward this season, this is a guy the Cubs, thank you. You paid 22 or most of the $22 million for this guy. And Jay Hay was phenomenal. Not so much in the postseason, but he was incredible. He pointed to that guy. He pointed to Freddie. He points to the people. Max Muncy, he stepped up in his voice this year. You don't get old school managers. Oh, they could not do that. They could not. I mean, I could imagine Lou Piniella having a fight, picking a fight with somebody like Jay Hay for wanting to have a voice. Maybe not that one. Maybe not that far. Jay Hay's a good guy, but still, like, Dave is so damn good at his job. And yeah, the people who say fire Dave Roberts they're the people who maybe go to like 3 games a year to get really, really just shit faced, and they read about it. They read about the team still in print media. It's like they don't know what's going on. They email us when things happen to the Dodgers. Those. Like, I can't believe you did this.
I can't believe you did this. Why would you
snail
do this?
Mail?
Yeah. Snail mail. Well, next year they'll be getting Blake snail
and a
mail.
letter. It's like
in a letter.
Yeah.
Dearest Dave Roberts. Yes.
Dear Dave Roberts. All right. Last thing. Are you happier to be a Dodger fan or an Eagles fan?
At the moment, this is the most strained my fandom of the Dodgers has been, for sure. But I'm a baseball guy. I love this. I love this sport. I love this stupid, painful sport. And as much as I'm saying, F you Dodgers, you're the worst. I never want to see you again. It's already on my calendar. Pitchers and catchers reporting. Dodgers all the way, man. And I'm looking forward to a very, very long, very frustrating hot stove where not much is going to happen, and everybody thinks that the team is terrible, and then everybody will be very excited showing up at Camelback Ranch sometime in early to mid-February. But go Birds! But I bleed Dodger blue.
His question actually just made me think about this for our finisher is, so Dave Roberts and many other managers, their top role is psychologist, because you have a big payroll, you usually get a lot of talent, and he knows you have to be able to manage all of that, sit dudes, right? And it's not the platoon part, it's just also having depth. The Dodgers were one of the first teams to say, hey, depth really matters. Let's make sure we have that consistently, because in the regular season, everyone's going to lose people. And when they do, some people are going to call up guys that shouldn't be in the bigs right now. And some are going to be like, oh, that dude could be starting on X amount of teams. that takes skill. He has that. And I say that because when he asked you, would you rather be an Eagles or a Dodgers fan right now? I could do the same thing with, would you rather be a Padres fan? Would you rather be a Mets fan? Would you rather be a Cardinals fan? Would you rather be a Yankees fan? These are all big market, big money. Cardinals should spend more, but I'm putting them in that category. Talent teams that did not even make the playoffs. So just something to keep in mind too for Dodger fans.
Little ray of sunshine.
Yeah, they're running things pretty good there to be able to actually give yourself a shot. Yes, they have to figure out how to win some playoff games and win that tournament style atmosphere a little bit better. I think most people would agree, but like they make it every year. Most fan bases don't. Like this was the year of utter disasters, more than we've ever seen for a team to spend that kind of dough, right? I've never seen anything like it. Those kind of teams falling, especially the Mets and Padres. Those two stand out to me because of the star power that was there. And it's not even like they were hurt. Padres had most of their dudes most of the year, and the Mets, for the most part, were okay. I mean, I know JV was hurt to start the year, but true.
Yeah, the Diaz thing in the WBC, that really crushed them there. The Padres just couldn't figure out how to play together until September, but you saw what they really could be in September. What, they went 20-7 or whatever? It's going to be a scary team.
When it didn't matter, though.
When
That's
it didn't
my thing.
matter. Hey, at least they played up until the final weekend where they thought they had something. Manny Machado barely played any defense in the last 2 months because of his barking elbow. If they get any of their pitching back, that's going to be a really scary team. But we're already hearing they're going to not spend as much. So that'll be another. It's going to be a fun offseason, I tell you.
Yes,
I wish for Dodgers fans it was not starting until sometime in early November.
And also, I mean, this isn't going to affect your team most likely because they're not going to trade him there. And I don't think that's what they're going to be going after anyway. But in addition to the Ohtani conversation and what teams need to do, and there'll be some serious changes going on with some of those ball clubs, you would think. I think Mike Trout might get traded. And I just think the name and the star power, and you can say whatever you want about him, not being on the field as much lately.
Hey, man,
Trout and
Mike Trout
Ohtani in the same offseason, dude, that is epic.
Mike Trout, man, I would love to see that guy, not even just play in the postseason. I'd love to see him play. One of these years, maybe he might play some baseball.
He's played. I think people are a little too
one game after the All-Star game, or after July 4th, one game. Tough, Mike Trout, and I think he hasn't played a full season since like 2015, 2016. Yeah, you flash back a few years, I think any fan base would say, give me Mike Trout immediately. Now it's like, how can you rely on him? Can you really rely on him? Because he's hurt in the second half. But do
you want him? All money's the same. Forget money for a second. Do you want him or James Outman as one of your starting outfielders?
I will take Michael Trout.
Okay, just making sure. I would like the world to know he's still an excellent ball player. This was I think by far his worst year, and he was a 3-win player, 131 OPS plus, 367 on base. Like when the dude's out there, for the most part, he's still in pretty good shape. Yes, I agree. The games played, not great lately. 82.
Yeah,
he played 119 last year in 2022.
He had a full season in 20, I think. It's real easy to have a full season in 20.
I would trade for him if the money was right. Let's put it that way. And I think many teams should think the same way. Yeah, we can definitely debate. You're gonna have to buy some money down for the most part, especially with the Angels.
He's in my opinion, he's the most untradeable player in baseball because of that contract and what you need to get back for Artie Moreno and Perry Manassian, to what they need to get back to be able to justify to their fan base. You just traded Mike effing Trout. Oh, you better get some names back. And then on the other side, I just mortgaged my entire farm to get this guy. Tough spot for Mikey there. We're good friends like that. I call him Mikey.
I still think he can get traded, though. I do.
I hope.
I've got just like the Dodgers think they're front runners for Ohtani. I'm in the Philly area a good amount. In Atlantic City, we do shows there all the time. And I'm telling you, they come up to me already. It's been the last few months. Once they heard there was even like a chance that he could get traded, they go, you think we can get Trout? They love him. He's Millville. He's South Jersey. They love him. They know that their owner doesn't give a shit. He spends, it's stupid money. And for the most part, it's been pretty fun, that stupid money to ride along. And same thing. Does Trout make their outfield better? Yeah. And do they maybe pick up more money than most teams would? Yeah. And I think it would be fucking sick if Trout's playing for the Phillies next year. And also, again, we need, and I know Trout, is not the best player in the game anymore, especially based on the games played, right? Like Ohtani's a better player. But regardless, and we pick on this team a lot, and Angels fans absolutely, many of them despise me, even though all I do is shit on Artie Moreno. But I guess, I don't know, maybe he pays them to say shit to me. But Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani have not been in the postseason. Trout, for 5 minutes and got swept up by Kratz, but they have not been in the postseason, essentially. Like, that can't happen. I'm worried about the sport, and I want to be entertained, and I want everyone to see those guys in October. I'm big on that. And the fact that neither of them have been there besides Trout for 5 seconds against the Royals in a sweep a billion years ago can't happen. So I just think that could make the offseason wild.
Yeah, if that baseball would love to have at least a month and a half of Mike Trout rumors before Artie or Perry come out and say we're not trading Mike Trout. Just give it some time. Let us have something,
Right. Give us our moment.
Give it to us now.
We can't even, like with Trout, I can't even say, like, someday, years from now, I'm going to be like, dude, there was this guy, Mike Trout. He was insane. He did it all. Oh, was he clutch? I don't know. I mean, his team was never even like a playoff contender for the last couple months. I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know. We don't know. That sucks. Am I wrong? Did I say anything wrong?
And when we get that chance, we're talking about somebody who's now in his mid-30s. We don't know what prime Mike Trout was going to look like. I mean, just give him half a decade earlier from when he's playing with Mike Scioscia's Angels, and Garrett Anderson. You had Jared Washburn. You had these guys. Those are only 2 names I pulled out of my ass right now. I got more. We can go, but I know you guys probably want to change the subjects at some point. But,
no. I like it. But also, last thing on Trout too, and our guy Derek behind the scenes said 40 home runs in 2022, not like in 2017. 40 home runs. Yeah. 6.3 WAR in 119 games.
That's insane. And I mean, those are honestly Shohei numbers. He did kind of the same thing this year. Shohei did the same thing this year. Yeah, and those guys playing together.
Like, people are too hard on Trout right now. Relax.
Hey, right? Listen. I'm already in Eagles season right now, so I'm still. This is hours later. I got home last night. First thing I did was poured myself a whiskey, and at the same time, like a moron, I cracked open like some sort of fizzy drink or whatever. So I was not ready to have this day quite yet. We were not expecting it. Win one game, man. Anyways.
Well, we're here for you, dude. You're a star. That was really fun. Appreciate the extra time there too, because I think it was worth kind of laying it all out, and we call it therapy sessions. So we're here for you.
For real.
Clint, thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Great talking to you.
Yeah, and I want to say to you guys, if I'm still on, I don't know.
Yep,
I think
you're
I'm
here.
off, right?
You're still here.
I want to say to you guys, I might not see you again immediately after, but congrats on a great first season. It's fun watching you guys. The rotating, co-hosts and everything. You guys are great. Keep crushing it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, trying to get these guys to say whatever the fuck they want. Right?
They got that clubhouse culture. They don't want to be like Orlando Arcia.
Exactly. Oh,
sorry, Kratz.
Attaboy. Scroll back.
Attaboy,
Scroll
Kratz.
back and see that juice. Kratz versus the media. But actually, he was on our side. So, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Clint. Yeah, it's been a fun ride. And we like being part of the creator crew here. So,
go Eagles.
Have a good one, dude.
Yeah, go Birds.
That's right. Clint Pasillas, lead editor of DodgersNation.com, and we'll post a bunch of those clips. Obviously, there's some good stuff there. So, if you want to follow him, that'll be on our Twitter, among other spots. Okay, so now while we're in the National League conversation, let's get ourselves in the weeds, because we talked a lot about the drama portion of the Braves Phillies, which is the only DS series that's left at this point. I do actually also want to run through the game and the setup and what we think's going down the rest of the way here. Yes. So we have fancy schmancy highlights. So let's do that too. We do watch along parties for some of these games. So we've done some action for the first two and a little post-game show as well. So we have highlights from that first game, or not, from that third game, technically, in the series that we'll run through for you right now. Bravos took an early lead. Did you think that the Phillies were going to be held down? I did not.
Not as long as Elder was still in there, and they kept him in there, and the Phillies pummeled him.
So was it this point, one homer, and that's it, and you're taking him out in the bottom of the third?
No. Just like I said last night.
Not yet?
He cannot face – I would have a discussion if
This
he
point.
faces Schwarber, but he cannot face Harper. I said that in the second inning.
Twice.
You can't face Harper twice. And they let him out there, and whether it's Arcia's moments or comments or that absolute hanger that he put into the upper deck, it doesn't matter. It was a dinger. He shouldn't have been out there. Elder shouldn't have been out there. They should have had someone else. This really, where JT hits that gapper, I forgot about it until I watched it again this morning. That was a huge double because you bring your bullpen in and you think, man, oh man, like this could be the game. And then obviously Hand, the guy they should have brought in earlier, well, it would have made me look like an idiot because he goes dead central, which Harris almost makes another epic catch out in that short 6-foot wall out there. Obviously Harper still staring at everybody. This guy, if the Braves come back and win it, Smith-Shawver needs to get a higher playoff share. He's going to get a full playoff share. It's not a real thing, but he needs to get a bonus because this guy held this game to where it was at in the sense that they did not need to bring in any of their high leverage guys. Yes, he got 4 taters hit off of him, and he's going to forever wear that, but that dude picked up some serious innings, and in a long series, because they want Strider to go 7 innings tonight. I think this could be huge for them because they didn't have to go to anybody else out of their pen.
And that's what matters at that point. At some point, the game turns from, hey, let's keep ourselves in it to, hey, let's keep ourselves in the series.
Need to win 2.
Yeah. Like, you need to be able to use AJ Minter for 5 outs if you want, right? Those kind of situations have to be there. And figuring out who you are and where you're at in that game 3 with Atlanta is what they did. They moved on.
They did move on.
They moved on to Strider and said, hey, let's do Strider. Let's also make sure the pen's good to go. Now, some people, and myself included, are like, yo, it's been a lot of off days, more so than we usually see. So the bullpens should be in good shape. Yes, agree. But still, I want to extend my guys in the time when I need them, which hopefully is not this one. It's hopefully for Braves fans, you're hoping that that's game 5, maybe more so than game 4. Like game 4, Spencer Strider, that's your dude. It's one of the top, 5 guys in baseball right now on a mound, maybe 10. And also stuff-wise, definitely top 5. You're expecting 5 or 6 out of this guy, no?
I think you are. But are you going to live and die on that hill?
No.
Are you going to live and die on the Spencer Strider hill? Because if you're not, to me, last night, you can't have one without the other. Last night, I think they may have punted a little bit. Because if last night was
they did punt last night. That's what we're saying.
Staying with Elder so long.
Oh,
not once
really?
you brought in Smith-Shawver. We talked about right at the end. If it's 2-0 last night, Bryce Elder, 1, he may not start that game. 2, he sure as heck is not facing or throwing any strikes to Nick Castellanos, who already has 2 home runs off of him in the last month. But they let him ride all the way to Bryce Harper. If Castellanos hits that home run, okay, you know what? It's a tie ball game. You cannot let the guy, and maybe the Braves don't see it the same way I see it. Maybe the Braves are blind to the fact that, hey, you know what? Bryce Harper was 0 for 5 to start the series. We're blind. We're blind to the fact we got this guy. And if they are, hey, you know what? Then you're living and dying on the fact that someone else in the lineup is the one that's going to kill you. You cannot let Bryce Harper be the one to kill you. Active OPS leader in the playoffs right now.
But isn't this game different? So, okay, let me paint a scenario for you. Game 4, Bryce gets a knock off of Strider. Let's say it's a double. You're like, oh, damn, 105 off the bat, right?
He's going to be hitting third, so there's 2 outs in the first inning.
Yes.
Okay.
Next time he's up.
It's a 2-0 game. Phillies are winning. Next time he's
up.
It's
a 1-0 game. Phillies are winning. Next time he's up.
Okay.
Is he facing him or no?
How many people are on?
One.
He walks him. That's why my over on the walk hits. They walk him. They have to not be.
You're not taking him out. You're just not dealing with him. He is the guy. And you're in these meetings. You're in these meetings, right? You've been in these meetings many times before.
With the people that are on this team. I've been in these meetings with Sal Fasano. Sal Fasano is the catching coach for this team. I've been in these meetings with Travis d'Arnaud. He's one of the catchers. I've been in these meetings with Bobby Magianis. He's one of the coordinators, like field major league coordinators. Like, if they're not seeing Bryce Harper as the guy, they're missing the boat.
So you're saying they're sitting in a meeting today, right? They're going over the plan, and they're going, big circle. Enough of this guy. Enough. Pitch around him. You're not intentionally walking him, obviously. In the right scenario, you are, but are you just saying, hey, dude, we're giving him some non-competitive pitches? Like, what do you say? Is that what you say?
Yes, non-competitive, especially in this scenario, because right now, Bryce Harper will be hitting third.
Right.
Alec Boehm will be behind him. Alec Boehm looked lost all season against Spencer Strider. He has to beat us. So if it's first and second, there's an open base at third, we're pitching around Harper.
Strider has he's mostly fastball slider, obviously, right?
Yep.
So what are you telling him to do against Bryce?
Do not throw.
Fastball here?
No. It's all, we're going to go all fastballs away. Because all fastballs away, Strider's ball has late life at the end. So even if he's trying to hit one like middle away, it's going to be up. He's always going to be missing up. Strider's not a guy that's going to miss a lot of arm side consistently. It's going to be fastballs up, fastballs up, fastballs up. Harper cannot hit a ball. Now, this is an old stat, and I don't remember. I had it in my notes before. He had never hit a home run on a pitch in the upper quadrant, so up and away to a lefty, over 95 for a home run up until a certain point. And I don't know if it's an accurate stat anymore.
Okay.
Over 95 miles an hour.
And that's the spot. You're just like,
and
we're
that's
going
the spot.
there.
That's where we're
and
going.
Maybe a slider or two, like just in the dirt.
Bounce City.
Yeah.
I do not come anywhere close to landing that pitch. Again, though, I'm not the pitcher. Spencer Strider, he doesn't front squat. He doesn't front squat 550 pounds, whatever he does, because he's soft. This dude is here to be their Justin Verlander, to be their Max Scherzer, to be the guy that they've signed him an extension to. So he might be like, piss off. I don't care about him. I'm going right after him.
And that would be a mistake.
I think it is a mistake if he hurts you. That is such a hindsight 2020 thing.
That's fair. If other guys hurt you, they hurt you. If Bryce hurts you, it's a problem, right? If you challenged Bryce with a pitch, a little middle up, and he smacks the shit out of it, that's on you.
That's on you, and we're not going out like that.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a lefty that starts with Mount Max Fried in Game 5, Harper's now all of a sudden hitting fourth, and you have Nick Castellanos backing him up. You have to kind of go after Harper a little bit. You have to be able to pitch around Boehm. So it's not that Harper is an automatic, do not ever let him hurt you. It's the situation. It's who's behind him. Where are we at in the score? Let's say the Braves come out and score 2. I'm going right after Harper.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to think the whole game I'm going right after him. I am not walking anybody. So that's where the ebbs and flows of the game go. And you're talking about a guy in Strider who is a punch-out monster. And in the playoffs, guys punch out less. And I'm pulling up what he's done against the Phillies. And it's something
what Strider's done against the Phillies?
What Strider's done against the Phillies, because it's been great. It has been almost unhittable.
And he's projected, I can tell you, he's projected for 8 or 9 strikeouts because his number is 8.5.
8.5. And I like the under.
What the better numbers in the world say.
But I wouldn't touch it. Here it is. 2. Okay? This is
2 Ks?
No, this is including the postseason last year. Okay?
Yeah.
His last outing against them was in the playoffs. He went 8, 11, 9, 9, 9, 4, 10, 13, 6, and 5 strikeouts. And the last 2, 6 and 5, was a 46-pitch appearance. He was kind of a bullpen guy in that one. And then the 6 strikeouts, he had 90 pitches. Every game that he has gone over 91 pitches, he has 8 or more strikeouts.
But is he going 91 pitches? Is it the same? Is it in Philly? Right? Like, it's different.
There it is. And that's why.
You just don't know.
That's why this time of year is so exciting, but I also watch these games the same way everyone else watches games because there's so many things going into it. It's not just, well, he throws a speedball. Let's see if they can hit his speedball tonight. No, that's not. How's he going to bounce back? How is this crowd going to affect what he does in the sense of locating pitches? And people who talk about velocity and everything, they talk about location doesn't matter if you throw 99. You're right, to a certain point.
Mm-hmm. And
to a certain point.
He's been here before. He was in Philly for this mayhem last year. And I will say very different situation because
he
hadn't pitched.
Yep.
He's a rook. Like it's different. I'm not worried about that portion of it, the mental component for him. But
the ball that Hoskins hit out was a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Mm-hmm.
I will take the under on. I'm going to put 194-mile-an-hour fastball. You are not going to see anything under 94 miles an hour,
right,
from the game, because if you do, it is not going to be.
They're taking him out
game.
if they see 94.
Yes.
That's not Spencer Strider.
Nope.
Legends Territory spoke to Jonathan Papelbon. And it is freaking gold. And he spoke about the back and forth with Bryce Harper and with the team back during their friendly time with the Washington Nationals. We'll just give you a sneak peek here.
Who was cockier, you or Bryce?
That's a good question. I don't know. Probably him at the time. But, for me, I look at him now, and man, we still, when I see him, I give him a big hug. It's the same thing. I got into fights with Timlin, Wakefield, Kratz, this shit happens. But at the end of the day, it can either bring you together or tear you apart. And I think at that time, it tore us apart as a team. And I think I should have probably waited until we got into the clubhouse. But then again, it probably would have gotten way worse than what it did, when teammates broke it up. But, afterwards, we had another team meeting. Of course, Kratz, I called a team meeting. And I'm like, hey, get the president down here, get the GM and the head coach. And so I start this meeting. And I'm like, hey, first off, I want to apologize on my behalf for doing that shit in front of the cameras. Should have handled it behind the scenes. But guys, we just talked about this. We're trying to make a playoff. I don't understand how we all have to be on the same page. And that's all I'm going to say. And if anybody else has anything to say, please speak up now or forever hold your peace. Nobody said a fucking thing. It was dead silence. Matt Williams, who knew he was going to get fired, said, "Oh, yeah, guys, we got to be a team here. We can't fight with each other. Okay, guys, let's go get them tomorrow." I was like, what the fuck is going on here, man?
Legends Territory sounds like that. The entire episode is up there for you on our YouTube channel, and it is available if you want to listen to that gold on the go on Apple and Spotify. For the podcast version, just type in Legends Territory. Jonathan Papelbon did that for 45 minutes. So that's the good stuff right there. If you're like, yo, I want the real talk that's going on in the clubhouse from Jonathan Papelbon. Well, you got some of it when he was playing. You got all of it in that conversation, and he loves you.
I love him. I love his energy. Some of his choices that he made, I probably didn't coincide with the choices. But when you're on a team and he's on that team, that's what you want. You want a competitor. And this dude, listen to this. This might be the one podcast that you want to listen to if you want to break your mile record when you're sprinting. Because This dude will get you hype.
I would have gotten along well with him.
100%. He is all about the dub. And there's a lot of things that go around with Pap, but this is a guy. This is a guy.
Also, I think that he should be a trainer and I charge the super rich people a lot of money, but then do some free sessions for people that need a boost. Because you go in for an hour session with him. Come on. You can't tell me that you're going to come out of there.
You're coming out sweating.
Yeah.
A little berated, but you are feeling better about your life.
I would be hyped as fuck. Like one more rep, whatever he would say to me for one more rep would not just be, come on, one more rep.
He would only say, come on, guy, one more rep, because you have no idea what your name is.
He didn't know my name.
He didn't know your name.
That's okay. We didn't talk. Not on purpose, but on MLB Network when I was there, I don't know if I interviewed him. I don't remember. Maybe once.
He doesn't remember.
He definitely does not remember. Let's laugh. By the way, Jackson goes in the chat, would you rather go to a team meeting called by Papelbon or scrub your toilet? Are you kidding me? Obviously.
See, and that's why you gotta. Who was that? Pat?
Jackson.
One
of the regulars.
I need you to listen to it. I'm telling you, if you don't want Jonathan Papelbon on your team after that, disregard everything about the Bryce Harper thing. Like, this guy's a competitor. The Phillies, even Phillies fans, if Jackson's a Phillies fan, like, everybody hated on that signing. Oh, it was the worst signing, all this stuff. 2 All-Stars during the 5-year contract that he was there. I got calls in 2015 from a team that made it very far in the playoffs in 2015 about acquiring him. And because when somebody calls you and says, hey, what do you think about signing this guy? You know our culture over here at this place. Would he fit in? I unequivocally said yes, without a doubt. Because he explains the whole Bryce Harper thing. He gets into it a little bit there, but he wants to win. And he expects everybody else to go as hard as he goes. I don't do the same things Jonathan Papelbon does. But you know what? I wanted to win just as badly as he does.
Mm-hmm.
The way he projects it can be taken differently. But I promise him and Josh Donaldson probably have some of the similar mannerisms about how they have, their bedside manner. Those dudes want to win.
Yes.
They want to run through a wall for the dub.
Also, listening to Papelbon, no matter what you think about him, is entertaining. Scrubbing your toilet, most likely for most of you, not entertaining. Most likely. Some people might be into it, but it's probably more fun that way.
You get a clean toilet, only
True.
to get dirty again. So I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway,
it's beyond my pay grade.
Eastern Mennonite University hat, EMU.
Emu.
The Emu Royals.
Did people say that?
Oh, they did, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we boat raced them in baseball.
We have Friday on FT Live to recap how things go with Braves Phillies. Game 4. Krasinski is back because the series ended in 4, and many other guests and friends. Ken Rosenthal tomorrow, and working on a very, very interesting special guest for Friday's show. We will.
Who wins? You got to lock it in right now before we hit the.
I got the Phillies. What about you?
Phillies.
Okay, but I'm not betting on it. I have other bets. I'm not betting on the Phillies.
6-3.
6-3? Okay. Good. That hits my under.